involved in the political life is at the heart of what it means to live in a democratic society. For persons with disabilities, discrimination and exclusion have become some constant challenges in their fight to be more involved in leadership and decision-making in the country. Although there were clamors for President Tinubu to reserve 5% of leadership positions for persons with disabilities, what is the reality of that? That's a big question. The Center for Citizens with Disabilities is saying that persons with disabilities need to be well represented when decisions are being made that will affect their lives and livelihood. They are asking that they should not be limited to some roles, but all roles like any other person. Well, joining us in the studio is the Program Assistant, Center for Citizens with Disabilities, Christine Joko. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, in 2019, when the President, Muhammadu Buhari, then signed into law the law against discrimination of persons with disabilities, the Prohibition Act, a lot of persons felt that this was Nigeria showing a commitment to promoting inclusivity and any other form that would ensure that persons with disabilities do not feel discriminated against as it is. But coming from 2019 up until this time, how much progress have we made when we're talking about inclusivity of persons with disabilities in all processes, in governance and across organizations?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I would start by talking about what CCD has done regarding the implementation
of this act.
Yes, the act, that's the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act.
Yes.
You know, it's a law that prohibits against discrimination of persons with disabilities. Now, what we have done so far is, the law is there, but the issue is implementation. Now, over the years, CCD has been able to monitor the progress relating to implementation with MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. And every year we do a re-evaluation of this implementation level of this. This year, we gathered MDAs, relevant MDAs, to ensure that we get the level at which they have been able to implement this. Now, in this discrimination, we talked of access to public buildings. We talked of access to political participation. They have to be to participate in politics just like others without disabilities. These are the things. Reality is that we still have a long way to go when it comes to the law. We still have.
So are you saying we haven't made progress at all?
We have, because presently we have persons with disabilities that are into politics.
Now, and they're in government.
They are. So what we are saying is that it is not enough. We still want persons with disabilities in various, sectors. Let them be involved. That it is their right. Now, presently we have a councillor who is a person with disability, with a physical disability. Now, he is a councillor in, Akpeno Ward in Isolo, and he's doing beautifully well. Doing beautifully well. So just last week also, last month, we sensitized persons with disabilities. We brought them together and we sensitized them about their right, that it is time for them to come out and participate on an equal basis with others. Now, aspiring politicians, you know, persons with disability also, they are aspiring to be politics. They want to be politicians and they are aspiring to be in politics. So we gathered them together and we built their capacity. When it comes to political participation, we build their capacity, the leadership skill they need to excel in politics. We also, regarding involvement in politics, we also involve the Interparty Advisory Council. That's the umbrella for all political parties in Lagos State. She gave the processes and requirements to involve in politics. And these people they were grateful for that program. So CCD has been involved in ensuring that PWDs participate on an equal basis.
And monitor the progress.
Yes, we monitor.
Okay, with regards to implementation. All right.
And since we are talking about involvement of persons with disabilities in politics, in governance,
yes.
Let's take it back to the 2019 election. I understand that INEC also provided some instruments to aid
and even the 2023 election.
Yes, but did this really reflect the need of persons with disabilities at that time?
Well, you know, we observed the election. Center for Citizens with Disability observed the election. And after the election, we did a public presentation of the observation. And, you know, when you are doing public presentation of this observation, we had to call on PWDs that voted. Now, they came and, you know, INEC did their best. INEC did their best. They made some, what is it called, assistive devices available for persons with disabilities. Now, in the history, let me tell you this. In the history of INEC, the last general election, we got the information and from people that 50 interpreters across Lagos State. In the history, and that is because CCD, you know, engaged INEC. We have the disability desk officer. We have Mr. Luka Buba. He's always following up when it comes to persons with disabilities. But we are saying it is still not enough because in some polling stations, what is it called? The polling booths were placed across gutters for persons with disabilities on a wheelchair, and it becomes difficult for them to participate. So what we are saying is that let there be a level playing ground. Political processes, in their gatherings, their meetings, they should make their venue accessible for persons with disabilities. I think by the time we start doing this, we will be able to involve persons with disabilities.
Do you also encourage your persons with disabilities to perhaps engage in political party affairs, to be part of political parties? Because that is where it actually begins from.
Definitely.
If you are not engaging in this grassroots politics, you cannot necessarily be picked to say, occupy this position and all of it.
Definitely, definitely. That's the starting point. You know, I talked about getting them. It was a 2-day capacity building training. We had past the past chairman of Amuwo Dofin, Comrade Adewale. He was at that meeting. He took them through. You know, experiences at times gives you an edge. He shared his experience. And also, the Honorable Councillor of Akpena Ward, that's Agbabi Aka Yusuf, also came. He's the sitting councillor. He also came to share. Then the chairman of the Interparty Council took them through the processes. It is not just PWD should be involved in politics. There should be. Do you belong to a political party? Do you belong to a political party? So it starts from there. We encourage them to belong to a political party of their choice because it is their right. Yes.
Indeed. Indeed.
And so when we talk about their rights, I also want to know if, you know, these persons with disabilities themselves know about the law. And if they know about the law, how much have they, you know, keyed into this, that they have a right to vote, a right to be voted for as persons with disabilities. We also have some issues of low self-esteem, especially from persons with disabilities, and that's why they do not want to come out, you know, because this might be an hindrance to them. What do you think about that?
Now, that's a challenge, and that's why we say constant sensitization is what we do. When it comes to sensitizing persons with disabilities, in quotes, you might say they are all aware. Definitely they are, but there are also some. Let's not neglect that part. There are some that are still not aware of this law. So constant sensitization, and we keep advocating for the inclusion of persons with disabilities in politics. Now, we engaged LASEC, that's the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission. Was it last week? Yes, we had we reviewed a strategic plan from 2021 to 2025. How have they been involving persons with disabilities in their strategic plan? We were at that meeting and we reviewed. Now, one of the things LASEC did prior to the election was that they got persons with disabilities from the 3 senatorial districts, sensitized them on the need for them to participate in politics and also inclusive electioneering process. Inclusive local election, we talked about voter apathy. That's where it goes. When persons with disabilities don't know their rights, it becomes difficult for them. So we keep advocating, we keep sensitizing them about the law. And when we gather them together, we make them know it is their right until they come out. You see, if you don't know your right, you won't know how to fight for this right. So the knowledge needs to be improved. Their knowledge needs to be improved on a daily basis. And that's why we tell them, you don't have to. If you say you want someone here to be in leadership position or you want to be there, then you need to participate. You need to
participation is key. That's what democracy is about. It's government of the people, by the people.
If you are not involved, then
you can't have what you are doing.
That is it.
And so you cannot influence decisions that will be to your own benefit at the end of the day. But then you said all that you have monitored through your organization, you still see some gaps that needs to be bridged as it is. So talk to us from that perspective. What are these gaps that you feel people, MDAs, governments must do more, must build upon such that we can have a lot of this inclusivity might be something that gets to the barest minimum when we're talking about it, when it comes to persons with disabilities?
Now, what we've monitored so far is that, like I will say, we'll give kudos to as many that have, implemented these laws, these sections. What we say is that when it comes to continue, relevant MDAs need to keep, because this law, for your information, the law, this January, the 5th moratorium has ended. PWDs have the right to also, if they want to take the issue of implementation up, they can't take it up.
Because they can take it to court.
Yes, because the moratorium has ended.
It's a criminal issue.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what we say is that, like the election coming up, the local election coming up in 2025, that's next year, LASEC is already planning, called PWDs to a meeting. What do you think we need to include in the electioneering process to ensure that we have inclusive electioneering process? That's something commendable.
And since you are privy to some of the plans that LASEC is making as regards the next election, what I understand that there are different strains of persons with disabilities.
Definitely.
And there are persons with disabilities.
Definitely clusters.
And they do not have terms to, thumbprint, especially during election. What are the plans, if you have any of them, and what do you suggest should be done to, accommodate the basic clusters of persons with disabilities?
Now, what we do is this: we ensure that we let this set of people that want to include persons with disability, because it is a must that you include, because there's a law backing up. No, now LASEC is talking about polling. The polling unit they'll be using is the ones INEC accredited and to be used. So in that meeting, we made them realize that there is need for accessibility audits. When we say accessibility audit, for persons on a wheelchair, like I mentioned earlier, crossing the gutter to vote. I can imagine someone coming from his house and got to the polling station, and you cannot even, walk over to go and vote. So one of the things we told them is do an accessibility audit. Now, when you make provision for persons with disabilities, mostly they make provisions to say, okay, physically challenged. No, we have the albinism. We have persons with albinism that need magnifying glasses. They also need shades to be able to, because if you keep these people in the sun, their priority is key. Priority voting, you give them priority, is in the law. On the queue, ensure that persons with disabilities vote first. Do you get? So these are the things we've made LASEC to realize.
And how well do you think the media has really, captured these issues that need to be addressed, especially during election and political participation of persons with disabilities during election? How well has the media done by, portraying these people in a better light?
Okay, that brings me to, we sensitized the media recently. Media practitioners, we sensitize them on the right use of terminologies for persons with disabilities. It starts from there. when you categorize all clusters as physically challenged, you know, it's something that calls for concern. You are saying, okay, make provision for physically challenged. We have the intellectuals, we have the persons with the albinism, we have the deaf cluster, we have the blind. We have the scan.
Who are the scan?
The scan, spinal cord injured.
Okay.
We have the scan. We have the dwarf. So, you see, when you are saying, when medias are portraying PWDs as, you know, physically challenged, you are talking to a cluster. So, if what we are telling media is that they should portray PWDs in the right way, the use of right terminologies should be used.
Do these various clusters have their terminologies?
Now, when we talk of terminologies, like you mentioned, when you called me in, you said persons with disabilities. Do you know there are some media practitioners that are still not, you know, they are still not grounded in this terminology. They are still using living with disabilities. And that's, to persons with disability, at times, it stands as a stigma to them. You know, these are the terminology. You say somebody that is handicapped person. You're trying to portray what the person has done, or, you know, you want to portray the story of them, and you're saying handicapped. You know, it's a wrong terminology. We don't know who you are talking about. Is it that you are physically challenged, or you are blind, you are deaf? These are the things. So throughout this project, the project we are working on is enhancing access to justice and promoting political participation for persons with disabilities. And so we've been involving media in this.
That takes me back to the previous question I asked in terms of this matter. Since there is an act, it can be criminalized if you discriminate against any person. So how far have we come with criminalizing persons who are discriminating against people? Have we been able to carry out this implementation to that level where we get to the courts, either by your organization or any story you have heard?
Well, let's not go far. Now, you know the story of Benga Dane's son at the, you know, it is, like I said, it is when you see this, when you see the, what is it called, discrimination, when you come out to say, we encourage PWDs to come out to talk about their experience of discrimination. It is when we know that you are being discriminated upon. Yes, there's discrimination. We know there is discrimination. But you know, there are procedures. You have been discriminated there. Let us know. We'll set a panel. We'll review the issue surrounding it. If there's need for us to escalate, because we are working with we are working with Ministry of Justice. We are working with Partnership for Justice. You know, we have various agencies that we work with. So when we get this information, we try to review. Then thereafter, we do the necessary things as it's.
So it means that there has been no case.
Well, for now, we are still trying to advocate more, because when the time comes, there will not be excuse for anybody.
When will what will determine the time coming?
It is, well, determining the time, like I said, it is the report that we get. We can't
so
really
say no one has come forward to bring that report to you.
There is, but you know, like I said, review.
So no case has been, if I may use the word, strong enough to be pushed to the courts, since it can be criminalized by the law as it is. Is that what you're saying?
Now, I think we visited, what is it called, an agency, no, ministry, and you know, persons with disabilities that are physically challenged, even the blind, they cannot, you know, the award is up, and we are following that case up. Now, there's another case in Alimosho, one of our PWDs. I think there's a case of discrimination. We are following up on that. Mr. Yinka talked about that issue. We are following up on that in his own local government. You know, there's jurisdiction. You have to follow through, and once that is, it will be escalated.
You know, Veronica, this also, you know, beams the spotlight on another form of disability. She mentioned the fact that physically challenged is just one cluster of persons with disabilities. We also have people who are culturally disabled who cannot vote during elections because some of them have to wear dresses covered and they cannot capture their faces.
Right.
It's also important to turn our attention to that. But back to you, let's talk about what your organization is doing as regards preparing these people for the next election, preparing them to be in governance. You mentioned that you had a training earlier. These persons, are they in political parties already? And what are you doing to ensure that they become, party bearers?
Okay. To answer that, thank you so very much. Like I said, we trained them. It was a 2-day capacity. We had people already in politics, those that have served and shared their experiences. Okay, one of the person that presented is, started from the local government level, the ward. He started with the ward, and he encouraged PWDs to come out. Now, what we are saying is this: like I mentioned, you cannot dictate what happens up there if you are not involved.
If you are not part of the process.
It starts with political. Now we have some persons with disability already belong to a political party. We have them.
Quite a good number.
We have them. Quite a good number. And that is an encouragement for us because over the years we've been advocating for their inclusion, for them to come out and participate in politics. And we are saying that they are involved in politics. Like we have the deaf cluster. If I tell you the number of deaf cluster that though the program was, I think we had quite a number of persons involved in that project, it would have been because we had deaf clusters. You know how difficult it is for deaf clusters to be able to participate in the society, but they are ready to participate in politics.
Interesting. Now, let's even break down this matter of discrimination, because there are those who do not know that they are discriminating against persons with disabilities. So I'll need for you to educate our viewers on perhaps highlighting how it is persons with disabilities feel discriminated against, basing it on the various clusters that you mentioned earlier.
Now, I talked about the blind.
Yeah.
The blind is obvious. You know how the blind, they can walk with their guide cane.
Yeah.
Now, you have a building, a high-rise building, and there's no elevator. We had an issue that one of my colleagues was invited for a program. He's a person with physical challenge. But, he cannot walk with both except he uses calipers, and you invited him to his program. One thing you should know is that your participant, you should have an overview. And that's what we keep saying, that have data. When you are planning for a program, involve persons with disabilities. And when you involve persons with disabilities, how to get the data of people that come for that program is for you to have an aggregated data. Now, the person you are inviting is a person with disability. You are inviting the person, and the person got to the venue and was looking at the building, couldn't enter. What you are saying is, we invited you, but you don't have the right
to get in.
The same way, when you get to your polling station and you get to the polling booth, it's not accessible. You're telling the person you have just suffered yourself.
For nothing.
For nothing. So for persons with the blind cluster, you have to make availability audio, visual. Audio, you make them know that they are going here. This is the step to take. This is this is that. You provide them with braille version of whatever you are doing. You talk of the deaf. I mentioned interpreters. Make available interpreters. They cannot hear. Some of them speak. Their speech is not that fluent, but they cannot hear. So if you are here now, a deaf person is here, useless. The deaf person cannot hear anything. There must be sign language. And if there's no sign language, you ensure there's transcription of whatever you are saying. So the person can just be looking through. Now we have the albinism. Persons with albinism, they strain. If you have seen someone with albinism, they have to strain whatever, even their phone. Watch their phone. Is in bold, is well, The
letters are bold.
The letters are bold. The ones that are not bold, you see them, trying to get to read. Magnifying glasses. Some of them, their skin. In fact, we are having a case presently the chairman of Lagos State Albinism Association, cancer, you expose them to sun. We're having this issue that anywhere you see persons with albinism walking in the sun, or, you know, some of them, like we said, the law, some of them are not aware of this law.
They're ignorant.
So they're ignorant. So when you see them in the sun, you have the right to help them. You say, get away from the sun. Because by the time they expose this skin to the sun, cancer.
Do they have access to quality treatment?
Well, the Lagos State is trying in that aspect. Lagos State is trying in that aspect. When it comes to persons with albinism getting treatment for this, they are trying. It's just that we want people to also come out to talk about what their challenges when it comes to assessing this. But Lagos State is trying from what the Lagos State chairman is talking about.
All right, so talking about the different, very quickly, talking about the different clusters, how confident are you that if these persons are voted and they become in the seat of power, how confident are you that they will, you know, do their job despite their, you know, will I call it their disabilities? How confident are you that to an extent they will not, you know, fall back on the fact that, oh, I'm disabled? You mentioned that a deaf person in this building may not be able to hear anything. How confident are you that a deaf person can be a local government chairman and still perform his duty to the best of his knowledge?
Okay, like we said, persons with disabilities are human beings. You know, you don't see their disabilities first. See them as a person. See them like someone with skills, with potentials, with the ability to excel in whatever they do. So we encourage people not to see their disabilities first. See them as someone who is capable. Now, let me shock you. Right. Persons with the chairman of Appen Award, presently he has gotten several awards, the best when it comes to councillorship in Isolo. And that tells you that persons with disabilities capable.
Better job.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave this conversation. Christine Joku, Program Assistant, Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Thank you for your time, and we wish you all the very best.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we take a break. When we return, we'll bring you the news update. Stay with us.